Well, good evening, and welcome to the 54th Annual Christmas Tree Lighting Ceremony at the United States Capitol. My name is Christine Murden. I am the acting architect of the Capitol, and it's an honor to be with you here tonight. Tonight's music is brought to us by the United States Navy Band. The band is under the direction of Senior Chief Musician Michael Bays. Let's thank them for bringing us the sounds of the season. Tonight, we celebrate the merriment of the season and take a moment to reflect on the history and tradition of the Christmas tree here at the United States Capitol. It all began in 1964. Speaker of the House, John McCormick, suggested a decorated tree. And by 1970, the Forest Service began providing the Capitol Christmas tree from one of America's national forests. This year, the Willamette National Forest in Oregon provided our very first noble fir to serve as the 2018 Christmas tree. Thank you, Willamette. In keeping with tradition, the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Paul Ryan, will share his holiday greetings with you tonight and officially light the tree. But before we get there, I want to welcome members of Congress, distinguished guests, our Capitol Hill neighbors, and those of you who are visiting the nation's capital today. We are so happy you are joining us in celebrating this most wonderful time of year at the United States Capitol. Joining me this evening are members of the Oregon delegation, United States Senators Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley, United States Representatives Peter DeFazio, Suzanne Bonamici, and Greg Walden. This noble fir is decorated with thousands of handmade ornaments, crafted by children and others throughout the great state of Oregon. Speaking of ornaments, I think we have room for one more. So each year, the U.S. Capitol Historical Society presents an ornament to place upon the tree. Please welcome Chairman of the Capitol Historical Society Board of Trustees, Mr. Donald G. Carlson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Christine mentioned, I have the distinct privilege of serving as chairman of the U.S. Capitol Historical Society. Founded in 1962, chartered by the Congress to educate the public on the history and heritage of the U.S. Capitol, its institutions, and the people who have served therein. We are proud of our long partnership with the architect of the Capitol and are glad to be here with you tonight. Every year, the Society creates a distinctive historical ornament drawing on the beautiful design of the Capitol itself to celebrate the holiday season. This year's ornament was inspired by the ornate Minton tiles which adorn the House and Senate extension wings. Chosen for their beauty, durability, and sophistication, these tiled floors continue to be a striking feature of the Capitol building today. The center of the ornament features a replica of the dome, actually made from marble originally used for the east front steps of the House wing of the Capitol. It's estimated that these steps were where more than 9,000 members of Congress ascended the stairs before their removal in 1995. Since then, we have, by special permission, ground part of that marble into a dust when combined with the resin allows us to make these commemorative pieces. These pieces, you can acquire these ornaments at uschs.org, and it helps fulfill our mission of civic education. So without further ado, it is with great pleasure that I present the 2018 ornament on behalf of the U.S. Capitol Historical Society.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Each year, the Forest Service selects one of our beautiful national forests to provide a tree to grace the West Front lawn. These grand trees do not disappoint. I'd like to thank all of the Forest Service staff from the Willamette National Forest in Oregon and those in Washington, D.C. Sorry. Oregon. Thank you. Joining us tonight is the United States Forest Service Chief, Vicki Christensen. Nearly 2 months ago, she was sworn in as the 19th Chief of the Forest Service. Please welcome Chief Christensen.
Good evening. On behalf of Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to say just a few words tonight. Each year, the Capitol Christmas tree comes to us from a different state and from a different national forest. The tree was brought to us this year by the people of Oregon from the Sweet Home Ranger District on the Willamette National Forest. This tree is 75 feet tall, and it's a noble fir. As Christine said, the first noble fir ever displayed here on the west lawn of Capitol Hill. The tree is called the People's Tree, and for good reason. It reminds us that even in a nation as diverse as the United States, we are one American people. We share a unique history, unique values, and a homeland that remains the envy of the world, including the millions of acres of forest land that contribute so much to all of us. It embodied the same American spirit of national unity. It began with the citizens of Oregon who joined together to handcraft 10,000 decorations for this tree and for the smaller companion trees in the Capitol and in government offices throughout the city. This tree traveled 3,000 miles from Oregon, involving many different people of all ages and all walks of life, with events in many different communities, with celebrations along the way. The tree made stops on the way in Idaho, Wyoming, Missouri, Ohio, and finally Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. Indeed, the entire journey from the selection of the tree to its arrival here in Washington, D.C., reminds us of what we can accomplish when we unite for a common purpose. If we work together to sustain our nation's forests, we can produce trees like this for generations to come. The partnership that brought us this tree is a model for our nation. On behalf of the USDA Forest Service and all the partners and volunteers who brought us this tree, I wish you season's greetings.
Thank you, Chief. The United States Forest Service delivered the Capitol Christmas tree to the West Front after Thanksgiving. Then our dedicated team here at the Architect of the Capitol went to work. They decorated it with thousands of LED lights and ornaments. I want to thank them, and in particular, I want to thank Jim Kaufman, the Director of Capitol Grounds and Arboretum. He worked closely with the forest in Oregon to bring the tree to Washington. Jim had the tough task of selecting just one tree. And boy, he did pick a good one. Don't you agree? It is now my pleasure to invite members of the Oregon Congressional Delegation to speak. As Oregon's senior senator, Ron Wyden is the sponsor of this year's Christmas tree. He has spent the past year working with local stakeholders and federal officials to ensure the success of this year's Capitol Christmas tree. We are so happy to have him here tonight, Senator Wyden.
Oregon, everybody's got that pronunciation. Oregonians do lots of things well, and what we do best is grow Christmas trees. And nobody does that better than Sweet Home. Sweet Home is a wonderful place for the holidays. I had a chance to march in the parade. It's when we officially launched the journey that Vicki just described. And the reality is the theme of this year's tree, the People's Tree, is Find Your Trail. That's fitting because the National Trail System turned 50 this year, and the Oregon Trail turned 175. That's older than almost all the sitting members of the United States Senate, if you can believe it. I also want to take special note of Bridget Harrington. I've had a chance to listen to her wonderful poetry. She is going to be with us here in a few minutes. And let me tell you, folks, you are going to be reading her poetry often in the years ahead. Now, I want to close with one last point that reflects a little bit on what this evening is all about. We're enjoying holiday celebrations, Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali, Kwanzaa, and more. And it is such a treat to see people from sea to shining sea decorating their trees, lighting their menorahs and oil lamps, cooking wonderful meals, and above all, enjoying time with family. Our diversity is a strength. It is one that Americans owe to the framers of our wonderful Constitution. The right to freely practice one's religion, or to practice no religion at all, is a part of America's national DNA. So no matter how you choose to celebrate the end of 2018, no matter what trail is yours, I hope you'll take a minute to reflect on this fundamental American right and why it is so worth defending. We Oregonians are very, very proud of our contribution. I was honored to be a junior partner in this whole effort. What you're seeing with the tree, with Bridget, with all of the Oregon congressional delegation out tonight is vintage Oregon. This is Oregon at its best. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Senator Wyden. Please join me in welcoming Senator Jeff Merkley. As senator from one of the greatest Christmas tree growing states in the nation, I know he's proud to be with us tonight. Senator Merkley.
Bravo.
Well, folks, it was 214 years ago that the explorers Lewis and Clark set out for the west coast of the United States of America. And they were forging a trail that took them across the Great Plains, a trail that took them through the Rockies, a trail that took them down the Columbia River, and to the great old-growth forests of the Pacific Northwest. Those forests have been part of our culture and our economy ever since. In fact, nearly 20% of our state are national forests, and we love those forests. Everything that they bring us in commerce and in pleasure and in every possible feeding of the soul. Well, now we have a moment when that trail has been traveled in reverse. So the people of Oregon, this tree up on a large truck, set out to retrace Lewis and Clark coming backwards and stopping at key points that they traveled on in different communities to celebrate America, to celebrate the trail. And the folks in those communities did a variety of things. They signed a banner that was on the truck. They did postcards. And they really reflected on that journey, on that connection under this theme of Find Your Trail. So they made it all the way back here. And isn't this the most beautiful people's Christmas tree in the history of the United States of America? If you weren't cheering, you were not from Oregon. It is the first noble tree. This is one of the most grandest varieties of fir that we find out in the forest. And I've really never seen one so extraordinarily symmetrical. It's like the Willamette National Forest said, let's grow the most perfect tree ever to share with the entire United States of America. So in this season of joy, this season of reflection, let us join together in that spirit that unifies America, of lifting everyone up across our country together. And in so doing, let's each of us find our trail. Take care and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Senator Merkley. Please welcome Congressman Peter DeFazio. This year's tree comes from Sweet Home Ranger District. Sweet Home is the 4th congressional district which he represents. Congressman DeFazio.
Well, I'm really proud to represent the 4th District, the Willamette Forest, the Sweet Home District, the city of Sweet Home, and we've talked about a lot of anniversaries tonight. It's the 125th anniversary of the city of Sweet Home this year, in addition to the other anniversaries we're celebrating. So, you know, I always have nobles at home, and I'm pleased that finally someone had the good judgment to choose a noble as our national tree. It's my favorite Christmas tree, and this is absolutely fabulous. That tree, Oregon's a little different place for those of you who aren't from Oregon. That tree is 35 years old. We grow them quick and big in Oregon. We have the most productive forest lands in the United States of America. And as Vicki knows, we're always having discussions over how we will and could better manage our forests. And I'm really pleased to have her as the new chief. She's from Washington State, our near neighbor. She understands our forests. She understands our environment. You know, the Find Your Trail, I think, was very appropriate. And Jeff and others talked about the tree, tracing it in reverse. You know, when the National Trail System was established, 1968, it was a pretty tumultuous time in the United States. And Lyndon Johnson was looking for something to perhaps unify people. He created the National Trail Systems. We have 5 national trails in our state. And when he proposed this to Congress, he said that the beauty of the American outdoors might not be a holiday treat, but part of our daily life and a resource that ought to be available to every American. So with our 5 trails in the Wallowas, the Dalles, the Siuslaw, and of course, the magnificent Willamette Forest, that is the home of our tree here today. And just like those trails, this tree allows everyone from all over the country to come together and enjoy Oregon's beauty and bounty during the holiday season. I'm proud to call Oregon home, and it's truly an honor to have our tree here as the National Christmas Tree to celebrate this special time of year. And I hope this tree inspires all of you here to go out and find your own trail. And again, as President Johnson said 50 years ago, beauty belongs to all the people, and this is beauty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman DeFazio. I now have the great privilege to introduce the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Paul Ryan has served the people of the 1st Congressional District of Wisconsin since 1999. He became Speaker in 2015 and continues the tradition of lighting the Capitol Christmas tree. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Paul Ryan.
Thank you. So first, I want you Oregonians to know that your Senator, Ron Wyden, longtime friend of mine, led me into a pronunciation lecture at the beginning of this ceremony. Oregon, Willamette, I can go on. But he did it with this baseball hat that reminded me of a Rose Bowl 6 years ago I was hoping to forget about. But I digress. What a beautiful tree. This is a beautiful occasion. I want to thank everyone who had a hand in pulling all of this together. So thank you, the folks from Willamette, from Oregon, Bridget, and everyone else who made this possible. Thank you so much for this wonderful journey. I know that is very much no small task, especially when the tree comes all the way from Oregon. I want to thank my colleagues from the Oregon delegation. I want to thank Earl Blumenauer, Suzanne Bonamici, Kurt Schrader, Greg Walden, Peter DeFazio, and your 2 senators, one of which has better hat than the other one. This is my 4th and final time leading this event, and each time the tree is more stunning. I will say we've had some pretty nice trees in Wisconsin, so maybe one of these days we get a Wisconsin tree here. But I've got to say, this noble fir is the best that I have seen. It is a gorgeous tree. And I also think it's a great time to come together. I think we're reminded, because of just what we did here this week in the Capitol, of the fact that we lost a giant in our nation this week. And the loss of George H.W. Bush was great sorrow, but it also reminds us of a man who was a beacon of joy. A few days after one of his granddaughters was born, President Bush wrote her a letter. He ends the letter by saying how you can do all of these incredible things in life, but even with all of that, he writes, what counts is family and love. Now, he didn't necessarily write about Christmas, but is there anything that better captures its spirit, its light? We celebrate Christmas year after year, and somehow it never becomes less special. It's a season dedicated to wonder and faith. We take our joy at the birth of a Savior, heralded by angels, and we spread that joy to all others in their lives. I think we could all say that we could all use a little bit more of that. Sometimes our best blessings are hidden. My favorite Christmas movie is It's a Wonderful Life. It captures this idea so well. I watch it every year. It's black and white. So one of our traditions in my family is to try and convince my 3 teenagers to watch a black and white movie with their father. But in this movie, George Bailey despairs that he has fallen short in life. He goes on so far to imagine the world would be better off without him. Only when an angel comes to him and reveals how much he is loved, how much he is worth, what kind of an impact he's had on others, only then does he realize that he truly has a wonderful life. We all have angels in our own lives who remind us of our own blessings. There is so much good, so much joy, so much compassion all around us, but we often simply fail to see it. It is there, but it's hidden. All it needs is a few points of light. So in a moment, we will light this tree. We will always try to bring an expert here to help us do that, though. This year, we have got a brilliant young expert. This year, we have Bridget Harrington from Hillsboro. Bridget won a contest with her poem about Oregon's outdoors and what Oregon's outdoors mean to her. So at this time, I would like to ask Bridget to come up and read a few lines from her poem.
Can you learn from
Yeah, I'll lower this for you.
Sorry.
Yep.
"'Twas the month before Christmas, and all through my mind swirled thoughts of my Oregon, all intertwined. The 4 seasons, how extraordinary, each one of a kind, left memories galore for my mind to rewind. The winter, how beautiful, the snow began to fall. I quickly grabbed my mittens to make a chilly snowball. The snowman we created sat proudly in my yard. He stayed there till he melted, a snowy, frosty guard. The raindrops, how they pattered, the wind gusts, how they blew. In Oregon, this is common, makes us special through and through. So don't be disappointed, for rain can bring such joy. The puddles are for jumping, they're better than a toy. In thinking of the springtime, birds began to chime. The tulips and the daffodils made for a colorful time. It was time to plant my garden. The seeds went in the ground. I watched each day as plants popped up and roots became earthbound. On to summer, sunny days. The earth was in its glory, picking berries, apples, peaches, and more. So sweet, like a fairy tale story. Hiking in the green, lush forests, tall evergreens abound, watching wildlife, deer, and elk appear, animals all around. Time for fall, it was really here, brilliant trees ablaze. Leaves soon fell down, one by one, my eyes just loved to gaze. Finally, into the pumpkin patch. Oh, which one should I choose? A tall, a round, a skinny one. Once carved, it would amuse. It's time to cut our Christmas tree. We've got to find the right one. Can't wait to get it home inside, all decorated and done. So as I close my eyes for sleep, my heart holds memories dear. Thinking of my home, our state, my Oregon, how glad I am here.
Oh, beautiful. Woohoo! Let's hear it for Bridget, huh? Wow. Oh. All right, we'll do it. All right. Wait. We're going to do a countdown, all right? You got the switch right here. I'm really hoping this works. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let her rip. Yay! Look at that. That's fantastic. Nice job. Nice job, sweetie.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to tonight's ceremony and joining Speaker Ryan, the Oregon delegation, and the Forest Service, the United States Navy Band, and the young Bridget in lighting the U.S. Capitol Christmas tree. Please enjoy a safe and joyous evening. Good night.
That one was the book. It's on the same page.